Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is David, and today I'm going to walk you through an exercise that I found really helpful back in 2018 and 2019 when I was deciding whether or not to leave my full-time job to become a full-time writer and creator. And so I want to offer that to you too. It's pretty simple. It's basically just getting an idea of where your hours are being spent now and how you would like them to be spent in a perfect, ideal world. I think one of the most powerful quotes that helped me understand this concept and really apply it in my life is that how you spend your days is how you spend your life. So if you don't have control over your hours, your life is going to reflect that. So let's go ahead and jump in. Now, as always, if you would like to use this template yourself, go ahead and check the description below. There'll be a little Google Drive link for you to download it, make a copy, and so on. Now, this page is full of numbers that I've put in myself. So when you use it, again, you can feel free to change any of the numbers to fit what your current and ideal day looks like. So let me walk you through what is actually going on here. So at the very top, we have a few different columns and categories work. So we have what I'm calling the current time spent. So this is where you would input how you're currently spending every hour, every day, and per week. So to the right of that is an ideal day and week. So how would you like your days and weeks to be shaped? Where would you like the hours to go? And then the very last column is the difference between the current and the ideal. We go all the way back to the left side. You're going to see that there's a few categories here. Now, again, all these are customizable. These are just the ones that were most important to me when I was thinking of how I would like to spend my day. So again, we have things that are pretty immovable. They're going to be part of everyone's schedule, such as sleep and work. And then writing is my creative pursuit. Yours could be different. And then a few more categories as you can read yourself. Below all of these numbers up here are a few graphs that will help you visualize the numbers you're inputting. And so all of this here is just to help you get a better understanding of what your actual day looks like compared to your ideal day and your actual week versus your ideal week. All right, just one more note before I explain how I actually use this in my life. So one thing is that I do input the numbers manually. There are a few that can be multiplied, such as sleep times 7 to get your ideal sleep hours and so on, but for the most part you're going to need to massage the numbers so that they come out to 24 hours a day and 168 hours a week. So these will be entered manually in the current column and the ideal column, and then the difference one will do it itself. There's a little, very simple math going on, so that way you can see it. All right, so that's a big, broad overview of everything that's happening here. Now, how do you actually use this to do something and move closer to your ideal life and day that you want to create? So the way I used it was, after I'd input all of my current numbers, I'd then take some time to think through what I want my day to look like and then spell that out as detailed as I could. And again, these are pretty broad strokes. Like, I want to rest well, and resting well means around 8 hours of sleep for me. Maybe it's more or less for you. Another point is that an ideal day includes a huge chunk of writing time in the morning for me. Somewhere between 7 and 8 in the morning all the way till noon or 1 is just uninterrupted writing time. And so I knew I wanted to build that into my ideal day and week. And so you'll do the same thing, kind of measuring where you're at and where you would like to be. And then that's going to help you come up with these numbers over here. And this is where you can start crafting what you want to create. In my mind, I knew that I wouldn't be able to move from the current to the ideal very drastically, because we all have responsibilities and big change takes time. So instead of trying to tackle every single one of these categories at once, I decided to tackle the ones that would have the biggest impact on my health and happiness. So in order to figure out which those were, I looked over here in the per day and per week categories to see which numbers were the absolute biggest, and then how could I move my current day closer to what the ideal would be. So for example, right here, the two biggest numbers in the per week difference for my current and ideal were writing. You see, I wanted to have a lot more time to write, at least almost 30 hours of additional writing time every week. And then work, which I meant by administrative and non-creative pursuits. I wanted to cut that down drastically. So when I was first working through this exercise, I couldn't just leave my job. I had to build the systems in place so that I could actually afford to leave my job eventually. But what this exercise showed me is that if I could increase the amount of time I was writing every day and subsequently every week, I would feel like I was already closer to my ideal life and my ideal day. So if that makes sense, zeroing in on what would have the biggest impact, the biggest leverage to move me forward. For me, that was writing. For you, that could be another similar creative pursuit. In a similar way, if we look for another big number in this row, you can see that driving and commute was a huge piece of it. So also internet use, even just a little bit of using the internet every day adds up. It was almost the amount that I wanted to cut from my commute. So I put in tools in place so that I would use the internet less, and then I was able to negotiate with my employer to work from home part of the time so that my commute would be eliminated or at least cut in half. The important thing is that I was able to start categorizing my time and zeroing in again on what aspects I could change to make me feel like I was already living the kind of life, the kind of ideal day and week that I wanted to. If you're more of a visual person, that's why I built in the graphs down here, because I think these are really powerful tools too to help you visualize where your time is actually going. So for me, one of the hard things to admit was I say that family and friends is a priority, but if you look at my weekly breakdown, it was the tiniest sliver, that tiny little purple one right there. That was all I was giving to what I was saying was one of the most important parts of my life. And that's just not cool. Like I knew that if I could make my time reflect my values, I would be a happier, healthier person. So again, like for writing, you can see that's the little sliver, that's the number that I wanted to increase. And you can see how much bigger part of the pie it is in my ideal breakdown. When I was first working through these exercises, I actually printed out both of these so that I could keep myself accountable and make sure that I was moving in the direction of making my time reflect my values. So again, this is a very simple exercise and a simple sheet to help you measure where your hours are going and kind of change that so that they fit what you want to accomplish, what you want to build, and what you value in your life. I hope you found this helpful. If you have questions and maybe how else you could use this, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I will see you later.